The emergency alarm woke Captain John Miller from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed across his small quarters on the Earth ship Dauntless. He jumped out of bed, quickly put on his uniform, and rushed to the bridge. "What's happening?" he asked as he entered. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Diane Powell, looked up from her screen with worry in her eyes. "Sir, the Galactic Council has called an emergency meeting. All races must attend, even observers." The Dauntless was not a warship. It was a diplomatic vessel assigned to represent Earth at the Galactic Council. Humans were still new to space travel compared to other alien species. The Council had only granted them observer status 3 years ago. Captain Miller nodded. "Set course for Council Station. Maximum speed." The ship arrived 12 hours later. Council Station was a massive ring-shaped structure that floated in neutral space. Ships from all 27 Council races were already docked. Miller had never seen so many gathered at once. Miller and Powell made their way to the Great Chamber. The room was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different, from crystalline beings to floating gas clouds contained in special suits. The council leader, a tall blue-skinned alien named Zorax, stood at the center podium. His 4 arms were raised for silence. "We face a threat unlike any we have encountered in 10,000 years, Zorax announced. His voice was translated through the communication devices in everyone's ears. "The Vorax have awakened." Gasps and cries filled the chamber. Miller looked at Powell, confused. They had never heard of the Vorax. Zorax pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed a massive machine-like creature tearing apart a planet. It looked like a giant metal jellyfish with hundreds of tentacles. Each tentacle ripped chunks from the planet's surface. "This footage was taken 3 days ago at the Nimbus system," Zorax continued. "The planet shown was home to over 4 billion Meraki citizens. There were no survivors." The chamber erupted in panic. Some representatives were shouting, others crying in their own languages. A few sat in stunned silence. "The Vorax are an ancient race," Zorax explained when the noise died down. "They hibernate for thousands of years, then awaken to feed. They consume entire star systems for energy and materials. According to our records, their last feeding cycle was 12,000 years ago." A small green alien stood up. "What are our defense options?" Zorax looked grim. "The Science Council has run simulations. The Vorax outnumber our combined fleets 5 to 1. Their technology is far beyond ours. The simulations give us less than 3% chance of victory, with projected casualties at 82% of all Council forces." Another representative, a floating ball of light, spoke next. "Then we must evacuate threatened systems and establish a containment zone. We cannot risk open war." Most of the council members nodded in agreement. Captain Miller couldn't believe what he was hearing. They were going to abandon billions of people. He raised his hand to speak, but the council leader ignored him. Earth was only an observer, not a voting member. As the meeting continued, Miller quietly left his seat and moved to a private communication booth outside the chamber. He needed to contact Earth immediately. In the booth, he input his emergency authorization code and waited for the connection. After a few minutes, the stern face of Admiral Kate Bennett appeared on the screen. "This better be important, Captain," she said. "You're using an emergency channel." "It is, Admiral. I'm sending you classified footage from the council meeting. We have a situation." He transferred the Vorax data to Earth. "The council races are afraid. They won't fight." Admiral Bennett watched the footage in silence. When it finished, she looked at Miller with determination in her eyes. "Return to the council, Captain. Observe and report only. Do not make any commitments on behalf of Earth." Her voice was steady. "We'll discuss our response when you get home." Miller knew that look. While other races cowered in fear, humans were already preparing to fight. Captain Miller's ship landed at Earth Defense Headquarters 3 days later. Armed guards escorted him directly to the underground war room. Inside, Admiral Kate Bennett stood before a large group of military leaders and government officials from around the world. "Captain Miller has arrived," a guard announced. All eyes turned to him. Miller walked to the front of the room where a chair waited. He felt the weight of their stares. "Tell us everything," Admiral Bennett said. "Leave nothing out." For the next hour, Miller described the council meeting in detail. He explained how the Vorax consumed entire planets, how they had awakened from their long sleep hungry for resources, and how the council races had chosen to hide rather than fight. When he finished, the room was silent. Finally, General Ray Garcia, commander of the North American Defense Force, spoke up. "The council's math checks out. We've run our own numbers. The Vorax outnumber us 20 to 1 if we fight alone. Our ships are less advanced than even the weakest council race." He paused. "Victory seems impossible." Admiral Bennett nodded. "The odds are bad, but we need to look beyond the numbers." She walked to a large screen and pulled up a map of the galaxy. "If the Vorax continue unchecked, they will reach Earth's sector in less than 5 years. We can run, but where to? And for how long?" President Laura Wilson stood up. Her face was grim but determined. "The choice is clear. We either fight now with potential allies, or we fight later alone." "But the Council won't join us," Miller pointed out. "They've already decided." Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, a young tactical officer known for his unconventional thinking, raised his hand. "Maybe they won't join us at first, but if we show it's possible to hurt these Vorax, others might find their courage." President Wilson looked around the room. "I need a vote. All in favor of mobilizing Earth's defenses against the Vorax threat." One by one, hands went up. There were some who hesitated, but in the end, the vote was unanimous. "Then it's settled," the president said. "Admiral Bennett, you have full authority. How soon can we deploy?" Admiral Bennett turned to her staff. "We have 200 warships ready now. Another 150 could be ready in 2 months. We should move quickly before the Vorax advance further." Lieutenant Rodriguez stepped forward with a tablet. "Ma'am, I've been working on a battle plan. It's unusual." "Unusual how?" Bennett asked. "The council races all use standard combat formations. Very logical, very predictable. The Vorax will expect that. But humans have always excelled at unpredictable warfare." Rodriguez showed her the screen. "I propose we use guerrilla tactics in space." Admiral Bennett studied the plans, her eyebrows rising slightly. "Hit and run. Against a superior force. It's risky." "Yes, Mom. But the Vorax won't expect it." Admiral Bennett looked at Captain Miller. "What do you think? You've seen these things." Miller considered the plan. "The council races think like machines sometimes. Very logical. This plan is anything but logical. It just might work." 2 weeks later, Earth's fleet gathered in orbit. Ships from every nation stood ready. They were not as large or as powerful as those of other council races, but they were crewed by people determined to fight. On the bridge of her flagship Resolute, Admiral Bennett addressed the fleet. Her message was broadcast to every ship. "Today we answer a call that others ignored. Today we stand against a threat that others fled from. We fight not just for Earth, but for all life in the galaxy." She paused. "We may be outnumbered, but remember that throughout human history, it's never been the size of the force that matters most. It's the size of their courage." The ships engaged their engines, the blue glow of hundreds of thrusters illuminating Earth's orbit like new stars. "Set course for the Nimbus system," Bennett commanded. "Humanity's answer is on its way." News of Earth's decision spread quickly through the galaxy. The Galactic Council called another emergency meeting. This time, Captain Miller stood proudly as Earth's representative. "Your actions are reckless and dangerous," said Zorax, the council leader. His blue skin had turned almost purple with anger. "You will bring the Vorax's attention to all of us." Miller stood his ground. "The Vorax are already a threat to all of us. Hiding won't save anyone. Humans do not understand galactic politics, hissed a reptilian alien. You are too young a species, too emotional, too quick to fight. Many council members nodded in agreement, but Miller noticed something interesting. Two representatives were watching him with what seemed like approval. After the meeting, as Miller walked back to his ship, one of these representatives approached him. She was a tall, insect-like being with 4 arms and large, compound eyes. Her name was Zix, from the Centauri race. Human, she said in a quiet voice. What your people are doing is brave. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. Miller stopped walking. We're doing what we think is right. Zix looked around to make sure they were alone. My people are scientists and engineers. We cannot send ships to help you. Our leaders forbid it. But she handed Miller a small crystal, technical data, weapon designs that might help against the Vorax. Before Miller could thank her, Zix hurried away. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Bennett listened to Miller's report with interest. So not all council races are against us, she said. No, Mom. And there's this. Miller handed her the crystal from Zix. Bennett passed the crystal to engineer Lisa Daniels, a brilliant woman who had designed many of Earth's defense systems. See what you can learn from this. Daniels took the crystal to her lab. Hours later, she returned with excitement in her eyes. Admiral, this is amazing. The Centauri have given us plans for weapons far beyond our technology. With these, we might stand a chance against the Vorax. Over the next few days, a second alien race secretly reached out to the humans. The Marines were water-dwelling creatures who understood sound and vibration better than any species in the galaxy. They believed they could help decode the strange signals the Vorax used to communicate. Communications specialist Eric Johnson began working with the Marine scientists. The Vorax don't use language like we do, he explained to Admiral Bennett. It's more like complex math, shared across all their ships. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, Commander Olivia Reeves trained her Marines for possible ground combat. No one knew if fighting inside Vorax ships would be necessary, but Reeves believed in being prepared. The Council races always focus on ship-to-ship battle, she told her troops. They forget that sometimes you need boots on the ground. That's where humans excel. As Earth's fleet approached the edge of the Nimbus system, tension grew. Admiral Bennett called her top officers together for one final meeting. We're about to make first contact with the Vorax, she said. Our plan is simple. First, we try to communicate. Council records suggest they might respond to logic or math-based signals. Lieutenant Rodriguez nodded. And if communication fails, then we fight, Bennett replied. But smart. We use Rodriguez's hit-and-run tactics. We test their defenses. We look for weaknesses. Captain Miller looked at the star map showing the Vorax's position. The Council thinks we're going to our deaths. The Council doesn't understand humans, Bennett said. Throughout our history, we've faced impossible odds. We've fought when others would surrender. That's our strength. As they finished their meeting, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. The fleet had entered the Nimbus system. Long-range scanners had detected something massive moving toward them. The Vorax were coming. Admiral Bennett took her command chair. All ships, battle stations. First contact in 5 minutes. The crew of the Resolute prepared themselves. They were afraid, but ready. Where other species cowered, humanity had answered the call. The massive Vorax ship came into view on the main screen. It looked like a giant metal jellyfish, just as the Council records had shown. Its central body was nearly 20 miles across, with hundreds of metal tentacles extending outward. Some tentacles held chunks of planets and asteroids, slowly pulling them toward the central body. Open communications, Admiral Bennett ordered. Send the greeting sequence the Council provided. Communications Specialist Johnson sent the signal, a complex series of mathematical equations that the Council races believed all advanced species would understand. They waited. Minutes passed with no response. Try again, Bennett said. Add the modifications suggested by the Marines. Johnson sent a second signal. This time, there was an immediate reaction. The Vorax ship released the rocks it was holding and turned toward the human fleet. Dozens of its tentacles began to glow with energy. "They're charging weapons," shouted Lieutenant Powell from her station. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Bennett commanded. "Implement Rodriguez Plan Alpha." Unlike the formal battle formations used by council races, the humans scattered in all directions. Small, fast attack ships zoomed toward the Vorax vessel, while larger ships provided covering fire from a distance. The Vorax fired. Massive energy beams cut through space. 2 human ships, the Steadfast and the Intrepid, were hit directly. The Steadfast exploded immediately. The Intrepid, commanded by Captain Frank Morris, began to drift, severely damaged. "Steadfast is gone," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. "Intrepid is reporting heavy casualties and failing life support." Captain Morris's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, we're losing power. Our medical bay is full of wounded." From the tactical display, Bennett could see 3 Vorax beams targeting the medical frigate Hope, which was moving to assist the Intrepid. "Morris, get your people to escape pods," Bennett ordered. "No time, Admiral," Morris replied calmly. "But we can still do some good." Before Bennett could stop him, the Intrepid's engines flared to full power. The damaged ship accelerated directly toward the Vorax vessel, placing itself between the enemy and the medical frigate. The Vorax beams hit the Intrepid, tearing it apart, but the brave sacrifice gave the Hope time to escape. "Captain Morris is gone," Johnson said quietly. The bridge crew paused for a brief moment of silence. Bennett's voice was steady when she spoke. "His sacrifice won't be in vain. All ships, continue the attack." The human fleet fought with unexpected effectiveness. The Zentari weapons pierced the Vorax's outer shell. The small, fast human fighters confused the Vorax targeting systems with their unpredictable movements. For the first time ever, a Vorax ship was taking damage. In the midst of battle, Johnson noticed something strange. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual communication patterns from the Vorax. They're increasing in frequency and complexity. Can you decode them?" Bennett asked. "Not yet," Johnson replied. "But there's something interesting. Every time our ships do something unpredictable, there's a spike in their communications. It's almost like they're confused." Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from his tactical display. "That matches what we're seeing. Their response times are getting slower. It's like they don't know how to deal with our tactics." Bennett considered this information. They've never faced humans before. Maybe unpredictability is our advantage. The battle continued for hours. The humans lost 12 more ships, but they damaged the Vorax vessel enough that it began to retreat. As it moved away, it released a massive burst of energy that disabled the sensors on all nearby human ships. "They're getting away," Rodriguez said with frustration. "Let them go," Bennett replied. "We've learned valuable information today. The Vorax can be hurt, and they don't understand how humans fight." As damage reports came in, Bennett ordered the fleet to regroup. They had suffered heavy losses, but they had achieved something no council race believed possible. They had fought the Vorax and survived. Eric Johnson approached the Admiral with excitement in his eyes. "Ma'am, I think I've found something in their communication patterns. With more data, I might be able to predict their actions." For the first time since the battle began, Admiral Bennett smiled. "Then we'll get you more data, Specialist." This was just the first round. Admiral Bennett looked at the star map in the war room of the Resolute. Her fleet had retreated to Proxima Station, an old mining outpost near a dense asteroid field. 20 ships had been lost in the first battle, with over 800 crew members dead or missing. "We can't beat them with direct attacks," she said to her officers. "We need a new strategy." Lieutenant Rodriguez pointed to the asteroid field. "What about using the environment as a weapon? The Vorax are powerful but move slowly. We could use the asteroids against them." Engineer Lisa Daniels nodded eagerly. Proxima Station has old gravity generators. With some modifications, we could use them to control asteroid movements. Do it, Bennett ordered. How much time do we need? 3 days, minimum, Daniels replied. You have 2, Bennett said. The Vorax are following us. This was unexpected news. According to Council records, the Vorax never pursued enemies who retreated. They simply continued their harvesting mission. Why are they chasing us? Captain Miller asked. Eric Johnson had been working non-stop analyzing Vorax communications. I have a theory. The Vorax operate on pure logic and efficiency. Our unpredictable tactics register as a system error to them. They see us as a problem that needs to be fixed. Commander Olivia Reeves smiled grimly. So we've annoyed them into chasing us. That's very human of them. Everyone worked without rest for the next 2 days. Daniels and her team modified the station's gravity generators. Reeves planned the battle strategy. Commander Reeves prepared her Marines for possible boarding actions. When the long-range sensors detected the Vorax approaching, Admiral Bennett addressed the fleet. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but to show the galaxy that the Vorax can be defeated. Remember what we learned in our first encounter. Unpredictability confuses them. Fight like humans. The Vorax arrived with not 1 but 3 of their massive ships. They moved straight toward Proxima Station, ignoring standard approach protocols that Council races would follow. They're not even scanning for traps, Rodriguez observed. They think we're simply hiding. Activate gravity generators, Bennett ordered. Throughout the asteroid field, hidden devices powered up. The massive rocks began to move in coordinated patterns, creating a shifting maze around the station. Some asteroids accelerated toward the Vorax ships at high speed. The Vorax seemed confused by this tactic. Their ships fired at the incoming asteroids, destroying some, but others got through, crashing into their outer shells. Launch fighter squadrons, Bennett commanded. Small, agile human ships darted out from behind asteroids, firing weapons based on Centauri designs. They struck the Vorax vessels and quickly retreated before the enemy could respond. For hours, the battle continued. The human ships darted between asteroids, using them as shields and weapons. The Vorax slowly adapted, becoming better at targeting the fighters, but the humans kept changing tactics, never following predictable patterns. One Vorax ship, damaged by multiple asteroid impacts, moved closer to the station. Its tentacles reached out, trying to grab the structure. Now, Bennett ordered. Nuclear mines that had been hidden on nearby asteroids detonated simultaneously. The massive explosion damaged the Vorax ship severely. It stopped moving, its lights flickering. This is our chance, Commander Reeves said over the communication system. Request permission to board the disabled Vorax vessel. It was an incredibly dangerous mission, but Admiral Bennett knew they needed information about the enemy. Permission granted. Take a small team. Get whatever data you can and get out fast. Reeves and 5 Marines boarded a small stealth shuttle. Using the continuing battle as cover, they approached the damaged Vorax ship. They found an opening created by an asteroid impact and entered. Inside, they discovered strange corridors filled with machinery unlike anything humans had seen before. There were no signs of living crew members, only automated systems. This isn't a ship, Reeves reported back. It's a giant machine. I don't think the Vorax are organic beings at all. The team fought their way through automated defense systems to reach what appeared to be a central processing area. Engineer Daniels had provided them with data extraction devices based on Centauri technology. We've reached the main system, Reeves reported. Beginning data download now. As the download progressed, Reeves looked around at the alien machinery and realized something important. They weren't fighting aliens. They were fighting machines, and machines could be reprogrammed. Commander Reeves and her team returned safely to the Resolute with the data they had collected from the Vorax ship. The battle at Proxima Station was over. The humans had destroyed one Vorax vessel and damaged the other two badly enough that they retreated. Engineer Daniels worked day and night to analyze the Vorax data. After 3 days, she called Admiral Bennett and the other officers to a meeting. The Vorax aren't aliens, Daniels explained, showing images on the main screen. They're machines, self-replicating machines built by a species that disappeared long ago. The officers looked at the complex diagrams and code sequences Daniels had recovered. What was their purpose? Captain Miller asked. From what I can tell, they were created as caretakers, Daniels replied. They were supposed to maintain ecosystems and preserve resources, but after their creators disappeared, their programming changed. Now they see all other life as wasteful. They harvest planets to build more of themselves. Eric Johnson had been studying the communication patterns. Their minds are linked together. Each ship is part of a network. They share information instantly across vast distances. That explains why they're so coordinated, Lieutenant Rodriguez said. Admiral Bennett leaned forward. Is there a way to use this information against them? Daniels smiled. Yes. Because they operate as a network, they might be vulnerable to disruption. If we could insert conflicting instructions into their system, it could create confusion. A computer virus for aliens, Reeves said with a grin. Exactly, Daniels replied. But to do that, we would need to get close to their command nexus, the central hub that coordinates all Vorax units. Admiral Bennett looked troubled. Do we know where this nexus is? Yes, Johnson said. The data shows it's near a pulsar in the Cygnus sector. The Vorax use the pulsar's energy to power their central systems. Bennett stood up and walked to the star map. That's deep in Vorax territory. Getting there won't be easy. Before they could discuss further, Captain Miller received an urgent message. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. The main screen switched to show Zorax, the blue-skinned council leader. For once, he didn't look angry. Instead, he seemed almost impressed. Admiral Bennett, the Council has learned of your success at Proxima Station. You have achieved what we thought impossible. You damaged Vorax vessels and survived. Bennett nodded. We also learned valuable information about them. Yes, our intelligence reports mentioned your boarding action. Very human. Zorax hesitated. Several council races wish to speak with you. They are reconsidering their position on fighting the Vorax. This was unexpected news. Bennett looked at her officers, then back at the screen. Tell them we welcome any assistance, but they should know we plan to take the fight directly to the Vorax command nexus. Zorax's eyes widened. That would be extremely dangerous. Yes, Bennett agreed, but it's our best chance to stop them permanently. After the transmission ended, Bennett turned to her crew. We need to prepare. If we're going to attack the Vorax command nexus, we'll need every advantage we can get. Daniels raised her hand. I have an idea. If the Vorax are machines that communicate through mathematical patterns, maybe we can create a disruption signal, something that would confuse their network. Johnson nodded enthusiastically, like a mathematical paradox, something their logical systems couldn't process correctly. How long would it take to develop? Bennett asked. With help from the Zentarian Marines, maybe 2 weeks, Daniels answered. Bennett looked at the tactical display, showing the location of the Vorax command nexus. Then we have 2 weeks to prepare for the most important mission in human history. News of the plan spread quickly. Some thought it was brave. Others called it suicide. But all across Earth, people watched and waited. In 2 weeks, humanity would either score a decisive victory against the Vorax or face devastating defeat. In space, more alien ships began to arrive at Proxima Station. First came the Zentari, publicly breaking from Council policy. Then the Marines joined. Soon ships from other races appeared. Not many, but enough to show that humanity's courage had inspired others. The galaxy was beginning to unite, not through fear, but through hope. Proxima Station had transformed from an abandoned mining outpost into a busy military base. Ships from 7 different alien races now docked alongside the human fleet. It was an alliance unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Admiral Bennett walked through the main hangar with Captain William Parker, recently appointed as the diplomatic officer. His job was to coordinate between the different species, a task that proved challenging. "The Zentari want to modify our weapons further," Parker explained. "But the draft think it's a waste of time. They believe we should focus on defense systems." Bennett sighed. "And what do you think, Captain?" "I think we need both. The Zentari understand the Vorax technology better than anyone, and the Drav have the strongest shields in the galaxy." Working with aliens wasn't easy. Each species had different customs, different ways of thinking, and different approaches to war. The crystalline Pylorians refused to eat with other species. The insect-like Zentari needed special air mixtures. The water-dwelling Marines could only leave their tanks for short periods. But humans, with their long history of cultural differences on Earth, proved surprisingly good at managing these challenges. In the main laboratory, Engineer Daniels worked with scientists from multiple species on the disruption device. They called it the Paradox Pulse. It was designed to send contradictory mathematical instructions through the Vorax network. "The main problem," Daniels explained to Admiral Bennett during an inspection, "is that we need to plant the device directly in the command nexus. Transmitting from a distance won't work." "That means a strike team," Commander Reeves said. She had been helping test the device. "My Marines are ready." Johnson had made another breakthrough with Vorax communications. "We've learned to predict their movements better," he told Bennett. "They follow strict patterns. Once we know the rules, we can anticipate what they'll do next." 2 weeks after the Battle of Proxima Station, the Allied fleet was ready to depart. The night before, Admiral Bennett arranged a special meal for the commanders of all ships. It was a human tradition to share food before battle. At first, the aliens were confused by this custom. The Pylorians didn't eat solid food. The Zentari found human food distasteful, but they respected the ritual's importance to humans. During the meal, Captain Parker raised his glass. "On Earth, we have a tradition called a toast," he explained. "We raise our drinks to honor something important." He looked around at the gathered aliens. "To unlikely friends." The aliens hesitantly raised their various drinking containers. Some understood the gesture, others simply copied the humans. An old Marine commander spoke next, his words translated through a device. "In our deepest oceans, there is a saying, 'Different currents can flow in the same direction.' We are those currents now." One by one, representatives from each species shared wisdom from their cultures. Despite their physical and cultural differences, they found common ground in courage and determination. The next morning, the Allied fleet departed for the Cygnus sector. 187 ships from 8 different species formed the largest battle group in recent galactic history. At its center was the human flagship Resolute. On the bridge, Admiral Bennett reviewed the final battle plans with her officers. The attack would have 3 phases. First, a diversionary attack led by Captain Parker would draw away the majority of Vorax ships. Then, while the main fleet engaged the enemy, a small strike team led by Commander Reeves would approach the Nexus in a stealth vessel developed with Zentari technology. Finally, Engineer Daniels and Communications Specialist Johnson would deploy the Paradox Pulse. "The success of this mission depends on perfect timing," Bennett told her crew. "We'll have one chance to get this right." As the fleet approached Vorax space, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from Tactical, long-range sensors detecting massive energy signatures. "Admiral, there are at least 50 Vorax ships guarding the Nexus." Admiral Bennett's expression remained calm. "Then we better not miss." The pulsar at the center of the Cygnus sector shone with blinding light. Near it floated the Vorax command nexus, a massive structure twice the size of any Vorax ship they had encountered before. It looked like a giant metal brain, with countless tentacles extending outward, drawing energy from the pulsar. All ships, Battle positions. Admiral Bennett ordered. The Allied fleet split into 3 groups as planned. Captain Parker led the largest group straight toward the Vorax fleet, drawing their attention. The second group, commanded by Admiral Bennett, held back, ready to provide support when needed. The third group consisted of just one small ship with stealth technology. On board were Commander Reeves, Lieutenant Rodriguez, Engineer Daniels, and Communications Specialist Johnson. Their mission was to reach the command nexus and deploy the Paradox Pulse. The battle began with a massive exchange of fire. The Vorax ships moved to intercept Parker's force, exactly as predicted by Johnson's analysis of their patterns. "They're following the expected response," Parker reported. "We've engaged 30 Vorax vessels. The path to the nexus is clearing." Commander Reeves piloted the stealth ship through the chaos of battle. The Zentari technology kept them hidden from Vorax sensors, but they still had to dodge energy beams and debris. "We're approaching the nexus," Reeves announced. "Prepare for boarding." The stealth ship attached itself to the outer shell of the command nexus. Reeves and Rodriguez used cutting tools to create an entrance. Once inside, they found corridors similar to those in the Vorax ship they had boarded before, but much larger. "Security systems detecting us," Rodriguez warned as small defense robots began to appear. "We need to move fast." The team fought their way deeper into the nexus. Rodriguez and Reeves used their weapons to clear a path while Daniels and Johnson protected the Paradox Pulse device. According to the schematics, the central processing core should be 2 levels down, Daniels said, checking her scanner. As they descended, the resistance became heavier. More defense robots appeared, and the corridors themselves began to shift, trying to trap the humans. "They're adapting to our presence," Johnson said. "The Nexus is learning from our movements." The team reached a massive door blocking their path to the core. As they worked to open it, a large security robot attacked from behind. Commander Reeves turned to face it. "Get that door open," she ordered. "I'll hold this thing off." While the others worked on the door, Reeves fought the robot. She managed to damage it, but it caught her with one of its metal arms, throwing her against the wall with crushing force. "Commander," Rodriguez shouted. Reeves lay on the floor, badly injured. "Keep going," she said through gritted teeth. "Complete the mission." The door finally opened, revealing a vast chamber filled with pulsing light. At its center floated a sphere of energy, the processing core of the entire Vorax network. There, Daniels pointed. "We need to place the device directly in the core." More security robots were closing in. Rodriguez looked at his injured commander, then at Daniels and Johnson. "Get the device ready. I'll cover you." While Rodriguez held off the robots, Daniels prepared the Paradox Pulse. Johnson continuously adjusted its settings based on the signals he was receiving from the core. "It's ready," Daniels said finally, "but we need to place it inside the energy field. The radiation will be deadly." Johnson looked at the core, then at his companions. "I can do it. My job is to understand their communications. I need to be there to make final adjustments anyway." Before anyone could stop him, Johnson took the device and ran toward the core. The energy field engulfed him as he pushed the Paradox Pulse into the center. A blinding flash filled the chamber. Johnson was gone, but the device was in place. The lights throughout the Nexus flickered as the mathematical paradoxes spread through the Vorax network. Outside, the effect was immediate. The Vorax ships stopped moving in perfect coordination. Some drifted aimlessly. Others began firing at empty space or even at each other. "It's working," Parker reported. "The Vorax fleet is in chaos." Rodriguez and Daniels carried Commander Reeves back to their ship and escaped the disintegrating Nexus. As they rejoined the fleet, they saw the Vorax vessels retreating in all directions, their network connection broken. Admiral Bennett stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the enemy flee. The Allied fleet had lost many ships, but they had won. The Vorax threat was not eliminated entirely. Many units had escaped, but their central coordination was destroyed. Humanity had answered the call when everyone else cowered in fear, and in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever.